Okay, hello economics students. We're going to continue to work through this concept of elasticity. Remember, elasticity measures the responsiveness or the sensitivity of quantity demanded and quantity supplied to a change in price. Now, elasticity can vary significantly for different goods and services, and it can actually vary for different consumers. My demand or teacher's demand for a certain product may be different, or the elasticity of my or teacher's demand for a certain product may be different to students' demand for a certain product. In this video, we're going to look at the factors that will determine the elasticity of demand. There are different factors that determine the elasticity of supply. We'll do them in a different video. Now, elasticity of demand will vary depending on these four different factors in front of you. So let's get into it. So, firstly, remember something that is elastic. An elastic demand curve means the quantity demanded is responsive or more responsive, or consumers are sensitive to price changes. Remember, consumers have limited income and they're rational, and all they're trying to do with their limited income is get as much satisfaction as they possibly can. So keep that in mind. Alright, so why would we have an elastic demand curve? Remember, that would be a flat demand curve like this, where there's a small change in price leading to a larger change in quantity demanded. Firstly, when a product has many substitutes. A substitute is something that satisfies a similar need or want. It doesn't have to be a similar product, just satisfies the same need or want. Like a bottle of water, branded bottle of water, right? If the price of one bottle of water or one drink goes up, and there are plenty of others that satisfy the same need for quenching your thirst, well, the rational thing to do would be to substitute to the cheaper option. Secondly, if a product's not a necessity, so if it's something that you don't really want, or you don't really need to satisfy your needs and wants, then the price goes up, you're just not going to want to buy it. You just don't really need it. Thirdly, over the longer term, so consumers will become more sensitive or responsive to changes in price over the long term. And this is really just the product of our psychology, because we're habitual creatures. It takes humans a while to change our habits, right? So if you're in the habit of buying a particular good or service every morning, I buy a coffee from 7-Eleven, it's just a habit, and the price goes up, it's going to take me a little bit of time to actually realize that I could substitute to the cafe instead of 7-Eleven, right? In the short term, I'm inelastic. In the long term, I'll become elastic. And finally, the percentage of income. The higher the percentage of income of the good or service that the good or service makes up, the more responsive consumers will be to a change in price. And I think like a very simple calculation might help. So let's use the bottle of water, or a drink, a Coke or whatever. An increase of 10% on a $3 product, that's an extra 30 cents, right? If you really love that product, you're really addicted to Coke, you like drinking a coffee, then it's unlikely to change your behavior. However, if you're thinking about buying your first car and it increases by 10%, from let's say $20,000 to $22,000, that extra $2,000 is a lot of money. Remember, we have a limited income. Okay. All right. So I want you to pause and think about why these products would have an elastic demand curve, and why. What are the factors that would lead to that? All right. So let's look at an inelastic demand curve, and what we basically do is we reverse the factors. So the inelastic demand curve is going to look like that. A large change in price leads to a small change in quantity demanded. So if we produce a product, or if we have a product that has very few substitutes, then the substitution effect basically doesn't exist. We can't substitute because there is no substitutes, and therefore consumers will be less responsive to a change in price. Sometimes this happens for specific brands, like Apple. A lot of people will not substitute their Apple product. Secondly, if it's a necessity, something like a medication or even drugs and alcohol, prices really don't matter in that instance up until a certain point. So the demand will be inelastic. Consumers will not respond as much to a change in price. Over the shorter time, we talked about this in the last video, but in the short period, over the shorter time frame, we're less responsive to a change in price because it's just the way we're built as humans. We're a bit lazy. Finally, if it's only a small percentage of household income, again, we did this in the last slide, but that will mean that consumers are less responsive because given the limited income, they can wear the increase in the cost. Okay, think about that $3 bottle of water. All right, so your job is to have a look at these and tell me why these products here would be inelastic, e.g. what is the factor that's leading to them being inelastic. Alright, hope that helped. Bye for now.